This is special 632-28 before the hour. Let's go to Fort Meade. And I have read about this man. Retired Navy Lieutenant Commander Charles Kerchner is with us, and also Tate Vandermeer is with us. First of all, Lieutenant Commander, good morning, and welcome to Denver and 630 KHOW.
Good morning, Peter. I'm a full commander, Commander Kerchner.
Apologize. I got LT in front of it. I apologize. You're one of the plaintiffs in the case that was rejected by the Supreme Court on Barack Obama, and I think Tate is with you as well. Correct?
Dr.Kate is one of the. I've been blogging heavily on this issue for the last 2 years, and I was the lead plaintiff in Kerchner versus Obama in Congress.
Just if you would talk to our audience about yourself, what happened, and your views of Terry Laken, then we'll pass the phone because I know the tide is high. If you would, please, sir.
Well, I prefer not to talk to about myself this morning because we only can be on the phone 15 minutes before we have to go in and start the second day of the trial. But if they want to find out more about my case, they can go to www.protectourliberty.org, www.protectourliberty.org, and there's a complete recap there on the denial of the Supreme Court refused to hear the case, and two justices, Kagan and Sotomayor, we asked them to recuse themselves because they were appointed by Obama, the illegal president, and they refused to even recuse themselves. So I had hoped to believe in the Supreme Court was not corrupted by the system, but at this point I have to believe that all three branches of our government are totally corrupted and compromised and are fearful or whatever, refusing to address the merits of the putative usurper president-in-chief, the commander-in-chief. But let's go on here now to Lieutenant Colonel Laken's trial. The first day I observed it, and Dr. Kate here also was there, and I'd be happy to give you a brief overview.
If you would, please.
Okay. Of course, we arrived here early. There was a large group of people. The standing room only in the courtroom. I guess they were quite surprised at the number of people who showed up. Around 10 after 9, they all rise. The judge comes in, and they had basically two counts. They are trying him on. One was missing movement, count one. And so this is all summing up a quite elaborate, set of charges. But basically, it boils down to count one, missing movement, and count two, disobeying orders. So because he was denied discovery, he had no way of defending himself. Because if you may recall in the case, they would not let him call any evidence or witnesses or discovery. So his entire defense was gone. So at this point, he was dealing with minimizing his time in prison, basically. So they decided to advise of his counsel. He decided to plead guilty on disobeying orders because he's telling the truth. He did disobey orders, and he disobeyed orders to call attention to this matter because the chain of command had failed him. They were treating him just like I was being treated in the court system, denied standing. They don't want to get the merits. The military didn't want to get to the merits. So he had to disobey orders to get any attention to this, and he pleaded guilty to that yesterday. In the first half of the trial yesterday, they went right to count two and disobeying orders, which he pleaded guilty. And the first half of the trial was the judge reading him basically all his rights, that he understand what he's doing, and this is a severe charge. And she spent basically half a day making sure he fully understood that he was pleading guilty to a very serious charge. And then the second half, they went back then to count one, which was missing movement. At that point, they're pleading not guilty because he did not miss movement of any military unit or any military ship or any military plane. What he didn't do, he disobeyed orders to go to Fort Campbell's, which was in preparation for ultimate deployment overseas, but it would have been a month or two later. So he was ordered to go there to begin training for deployment overseas, but he didn't miss any movement of the unit or any ship or any military transport with the unit. He just disobeyed orders, but they're trying to pile on with a charge of missing movement. I think this is piling on by the government to try to give him as many years in prison as possible. And he just didn't show up for his plane, a commercial airline, to fly to Fort Campbell. He refused to go. So they put up 6 witnesses, proving that that the government provided him a ticket, and the U.S. Air ticket agent was there to say, yes, he was on the manifester of the list of all the other civilians, or he was one of the military passenger, but this is a commercial flight to Fort Campbell. Anyway, Neil Puckett, the defense attorney, would then get up with each witness and say, did you ever order Lieutenant Colonel Laken to specifically get on board U.S. Air Flight 1123 for Fort Campbell? No. So 6 witnesses in a row, they tried to show that he had a duty to get on that plane, but his orders said he could travel to Fort Campbell any way he wanted. He could travel a privately vehicle or a commercial airliner, or he could take a train or a bus. So their missing movement charge is superfluous, and it's invalid, and he's not guilty of that.
Commander, what's going to happen today? I know that you guys are the tide is high. He pled guilty, as we knew he would.
Well, the rest of the day yesterday was the government putting on these witnesses to try to prove in this movement. Now, this morning, the government rested its case yesterday, and this morning, Neil Puckett is going to put on the defense.
So
now, this will be the opportunity for Neil Puckett to hopefully work into some of the testimony why he did this, why he disobeyed orders, to support the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
Do you think Colonel Lynn's going to allow that after they said no discovery, no witnesses, or no?
I notice a different temperament in Colonel Lynn in the trial than what she was reported to have been at the what I guess is an Article 32, which is
right.
like a. She was apparently very, very tough with the previous attorney, who was Paul Jensen, and denial of discovery. What I could see, she seems to be very, very, very interested in hearing more from Lieutenant Colonel Laken as to why he did this.
Wow.
So maybe today we'll be allowed to get into that. In fact, there was testimony from a prosecution witness that the president, that Laken had told him or her that the reason he was doing this because the president hasn't proved he's legally eligible for the office. So you should have seen the prosecution Army attorneys when she volunteered that under testimony on behalf of the government.
Wow.
They just about choked. But at times during the trial yesterday, you could see the judge rolling her eyes at the, I would call it almost incompetence of the Army team trying to prove this missing movement. This is a trumped-up charge to pile on Lieutenant Colonel.
No, I believe that as well. I mean, I asked the question where are they hiding the kangaroos in there? But all right, so today, Terry Laken takes the stand.
I don't know if they're going to physically put him on the stand, but I would hope they would. But the defense is going to be talking to the jury. Mm-hmm. They call it the members. Panel, they call it the members of the court with it's a panel of 8 officers. Right. And either Neil Puckett or Lieutenant Colonel Laken himself will be on the stand to present, hopefully, why he did this, but definitely that he did not miss movement.
What's your guess on the outcome? What's going to happen?
He pleaded guilty to disobeying orders. They reduced the maximum prison time for those charges by sort of plea bargaining away one of the charges, and got it down from like 4 years to about 18 months at this point. But he could be convicted. He could be sentenced for up to 18 months at Leavenworth. He could all be dismissed. He could be found guilty and serve no time. So he could get anything from.
They can't let him walk though, can they? I mean, they really can't.
I would think 6 months, maybe a year. But
Commander, how much media coverage? Then we're going to switch to Tate as well. How much media coverage was there, and how did the media handle it?
Well, there was an NBC reporter there with AT reporters there. There was New York Times reporter there. And I and Dr. Kate tried to talk to all of them and say, when are you going to stop covering the people like us that are standing up and cover the merits of the charges?
Right, exactly.
We're going to start investigating that instead of why we are standing up to support the Constitution.
Right. And what do they say when you say that?
Well, one said, well, that's not it. Basically, in civilian, she was saying, that's not my pay grade. Just hire people. They tell me to come here to cover the trial. They don't tell me to investigate the merits. The NBC reporter basically ignored me after a few minutes of me trying to give her what our side of the merits are. She just turned her head and started talking to somebody else and refused to listen to me.
Now, well.
The New York Times, Maureen Dowd,
yes,
she was really taking it all in, but she had an agenda, and she wrote a piece today. But at least, they say that even bad news is better
absolutely.
than no news.
Absolutely.
In her piece, she did get to the merits, and she did quote Dr. Kate here, some of the merits of our issue here.
Yep.
So let me pass it to Dr.
Okay.
Kate at this time, if you mind. And,
Absolutely,
and
please.
She can talk about what she discussed
Okay.
at the New York Times.
We're going to stay late for our
Very good.
traffic report. Hey, Doctor, good morning. Welcome to 630 KHW. Peter Boyles, you're on the air. Good morning.
Oh, good morning. This is Dr. Kate Vandermoor. I'm very glad to be here. And, it was very interesting, Maureen Dowd, trying to get all the information she could. Her article actually was titled this morning, Usurper in Chief.
Yes, I saw that. I have it in front of me
Yes.
right now. Yeah.
Very good. So anyway, you saw what we did. She was able to get the natural-born citizen definition down. From my standpoint, I was able to get in the situation that Americans are sitting ducks as long as we have an ineligible commander-in-chief. All we need to do is look at the missile that was fired off the California coast to understand that if it had gone the other direction.
What?
I found... Go ahead.
No, please. I was just going to ask you, what do you think is going to happen, and why?
I don't want to jinx anything, if you will.
Okay.
But I will note this. On the second charge, and we've only got about 5 minutes here. We've got to go.
I know.
Basically, the first charge on missing movement was totally demolished yesterday, completely demolished. So I think that he will be found. Of course, he's already pled guilty on the other charges, but I don't think, my own personal opinion is I don't think they will find him guilty of missing movement. In that situation, then, we'll see what kind of jail sentence or what kind of punishment he does get. But the prosecution's case was pretty much demolished yesterday. They did not send their first team, and the judge had called them on many errors. It's an extraordinarily emotional time for everybody, but I do think that Colonel Laken is really standing strong, and I hope for the best outcome here. So a lot of people wanted him to stand no matter what and just go to jail for the cause. But when the judge removes your defense, there is no interest.
There's none.
It would be no interest in sending Terry Laken away.
What do you think? What do you think? The great fear if they can't let Terry Laken walk away, they just can't, because
right.
it's the so-called next man theory. So they can't do that. They will make him a political prisoner, as others have pointed out. So they're jammed up. They're not smart enough to understand what to do with this. This is my opinion. They're jammed. They're in a jam right now. I think Lynn's trying to find them a way out of this, but she's been given her marching orders from the Pentagon, the DOD. Mm-hmm. So what happens? What happens?
I just don't know. I just don't know. Maybe they'll just drop all the charges.
You and I know better than that.
Well, yeah, but yes, but I think they're in trouble. I just don't know. I hope the way they get out of this is to not make Terry Laken a martyr.
Well, they don't want to do that, but they've given themselves no choice.
Yeah, that's right. Political prisoners. Yeah. So anyway, I just don't know, but I do feel like there are so many errors here that this trial is going to halt. There will be an appeal, and I'm sure there will be a congressional investigation. Well, at least I hope there will be.
With Republicans now in charge, it's one of the hopes. Let me do this if I can, Doctor. I'm going to put you on hold because Greg wants your phone number and the commander's phone number for tomorrow. God bless you. Thanks for doing it real quick. You're on hold to pass some phone numbers, okay?
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, we're coming back, 6:45, 15 before the hour traffic time. Here's Susan.